With this new update, you will see that service planning and serving are still options on the left navigation. However, service planning is now a single item. In the past, it had 3 sub-items, but those have been combined. If you select service planning, you will see tabs along the top for plans, songs, and settings. Previously, there was a 3rd sub-menu item named scheduling, which has been removed. Previously, schedules could be standalone or part of a service plan, but that has been removed. All volunteer schedules are now part of a service plan. There is this new Add New button, and when selected, the first option that you see is Type. In the previous system, Type didn't really have a meaning, but now it does have a meaning, and the type is very important. There is subtext under the drop-down field that indicates how to edit service types. Since there are many features with this option, it has been put on a different screen, which you can go to by selecting Service Planning and Settings. When that option is selected, you will see all the service types that are available. For new customers, there will automatically be a type titled Worship Service, which will be visible under the Settings tab within Service Planning. To create a new type, you will select the Add Type button. The first section, General, you have name, description, and frequency. Frequency is important because it will allow you to create multiple service plans at one time and then read the frequency as to how to generate the date for each of these service plans. Worship services are typically weekly, which is the default. However, you can change the default. Next, you have teams. Now, plans can only be associated with service types. So when you create a plan, you create a service type, and the service type will indicate which teams will participate in that service. For this scenario, we will select production, guest services, support, and worship. So every time I create a plan of type worship service, these teams will be selected by default. The pop-up will show all groups in the system with the volunteer type serving team. It will show all serving teams on the left-hand side, but you are not limited to those serving teams. You can schedule others as well. I'll add a small group, which is not a serving team. The next section is templates, which we will discuss later. And the last is attachments, which are any attachments you want to add to the service type template. And you can see the various files or links that you can add to each of these service types. For the templates, let me go ahead and open up this existing service type, worship service. So once you create a service type, you will have the option to create a template. And a template is essentially a plan template. For demonstration, I'll show you the one that's created here. As you can see, this looks like a service plan, but it is a service type template. So when you create plans of this specific type, worship service, this is the default service type template that will be auto-created. And you can import this template into each plan that you are creating. Here you can create the various elements that go along with each service. If you select the Serving tab, this is where you can indicate serving teams. So whenever I create a plan of type worship service, it will automatically add this order of service, and it will automatically add these 2 serving teams as well. In this scenario, I scheduled 2 volunteers, so it will automatically add these 2 volunteers to every worship plan as well, but this is adjustable. If this is the very first time creating a plan or setting up a template, this is what you will see. The tip at the bottom reads that no teams have been assigned to this plan, and to get started, check the Show Hidden Teams and Positions options above. Now you'll see every team that can be scheduled for this type, along with every active position for that team. Again, these are teams that are part of the type that you're editing and not all of the serving teams within your organization. Now I can start to build out my volunteer schedule by hovering over the position that is needed and selecting the green plus icon. And then you can add the number of positions you need for each. Now, if you uncheck the Show Hidden Teams and Positions, you will see the teams and the positions that are needed for this service type template. Keep in mind, this is still the template. Notice there is no save button. Everything will be saved immediately as a task is performed. Under the Actions button, which is slightly hidden at the top right, you can do things like import a template into this template, as well as you can copy this template. If you choose to import a template, you can specify which options you'd like to import when importing that template. The last option is Copy Template. When this is selected, you can do multiple things, like copy it to a new plan or to a new template. The final option is deleting the template altogether. To create a new plan, you can select Add New, or you can select New Service Plan. And the first question it will ask is which type of plan you would like to create. The next option is Copy Times From. And since this is the first time you are creating a plan, the system doesn't yet know which times you are copying a service from. So for the very first plan, you can select None, No Times. The next question is how many do you want to create? It's recommended that for the first time, you only select one. We will create one for now. Then you see the option for campus. If you are on a plan that does not have campuses or you do not have multiple campuses in your system, this will not be an option for you. Then below you will see the preview. So you're creating one plan with no dates, and you can choose which template to use. I will pick General, which is the template within the service type that we showed you earlier. As a reminder, I will go under Settings. I pick the worship service, and there are templates that are a part of that type. And here you see General, which is this order of service and these specific serving teams. And these will be added to this plan that I am creating here on the screen. Now I have an actual service plan, and it applied the template from the service type that I chose. And the name of the service plans are based upon the date and the service type that was selected. You will notice that attachments have already been added to this plan, and this is because of the template. If I toggle back between the service plan template that I created, you will see the order of service matches. As well, if you look at the serving tab on the template, you will see that that also matches the serving plan. The template determines the order of service, as well as the serving team and needs when creating the plan. This allows you to create these plans much faster. Managing a service type template and a service plan are very similar to each other. One major difference that you will see is that plans have dates and times, whereas templates do not. Templates are used to create plans, but they themselves do not occur at a particular time. Now let's go back to the plan. You see there are no dates, so we will add times. There are 3 time types that come with the system: service, rehearsal, and other. Additional can be created by selecting the cog button. After you select the type, you can then select the date and a time. A plan can occur across multiple dates and times. Let's create a plan with a Wednesday rehearsal and a Saturday and Sunday service time. After I create my first time, I then select the assigned teams for those times. I'll leave this empty for now and explain this later because volunteers may not serve at all times that you have for your plan. Here you can see that the services take place on Saturday and Sunday, and the rehearsal takes place on Wednesday. Now, if you look at the auto-generated name for the plan, it has changed based upon the date. Notice it generates the plan name based upon the services, not the rehearsal. Now I'll schedule some volunteers. I'll click on the greeter. A pop-up will appear showing me the number of volunteers in the system for that group and position. Currently, for greeter, there's only one. If I schedule this person, you will see that the number of volunteers needed decrements by 1. The button is also updated so that you know how many you are scheduling. The first option is to see all the team members within the system, but I can schedule anyone within the system to serve, located under the Guest tab. Now, when you are scheduling guests, you can also choose to add them to the team roster. I will go ahead and add Annie and James to the volunteer schedule. When I select Add Volunteer Now, those two names appeared grayed out because they are already on the schedule for the guest services team. Notice on the left of an individual's name is a color bar that is currently gray. This indicates a person's status. If you click on the name and then select Statuses near the top, it will show you the different options, indicating whether or not someone has been contacted, they've accepted, or declined. Now take a look at the middle section where it reads times. When you schedule a volunteer, they may not be required to attend all times on the service plan. For instance, in my scenario, a rehearsal is on Wednesday, and I can make it to where only the worship team is required to attend the rehearsal. If you schedule a volunteer and do not associate them with times, then the times will be unselected. Let's remove both of these volunteers. Now I'll select the service time and indicate which volunteers need to be present at those service times. Same thing for Sunday's time. And now see, for rehearsal, it will be different. Only the worship team is required to attend. When you schedule a greeter, you see that James only has 2 service times. If I click on that, you will see rehearsal is unchecked. However, if I schedule a worship team member, you will see that 3 times are checked because his team is required to go to the rehearsal. Now, when scheduling people, you can also drag them from one team to another so that they can serve in multiple spots. When you do this, the system will warn you of a conflict. In this scenario, he is scheduled for both greeter and also guitar player. If you open up that assignment, you'll also see conflict at the bottom. The system will also look for other plans that may be occurring at the same time and the same date. To remove a volunteer position, all you need to do is remove the needs down to 0 by selecting the minus button. To add a position back, you can select Show Hidden Teams, find the position, and then add it back. Or select the cog menu, then select Needed Positions, and it will show all the positions of this group. I will quickly schedule some other people for this service. So here's the schedule that I created. At the top, you will see a summary of how many people are on this team. I have 8 people, and they are uncontacted at this point. Here you can remove an entire team, but you also have the option to just remove an assignment. Clearing assignments will remove all volunteers in this particular team. You can also choose to reset statuses. If someone accepts, you can reset that to uncontacted. The last option under the cog menu is to send an email to everyone on the team. By default, it will auto-select that specific team and those who have been non-contacted. but you can modify this as needed. After you have scheduled your volunteers, you can click on the Send Email button to notify them. After you do that, it will bring up a pop-up which will allow you to see everyone who will be contacted. 7 have been selected, but 8 and 9 do not have an email. They appear on the list so that you can see that they do not have an email. In this list, you will also see their assignment. You can also remove names from the list as well. Here's the default subject line and default message. You can also send this request as a text message. For the email, you can modify the body copy. However, it will not translate that edited copy to the text. You cannot add people who are not associated with this service plan. You can only email scheduled volunteers. After I sent the assignment, you will notice that Beth's assignment went to yellow because she has been contacted, which means pending.